Welcome to the ayeQ Answers podcast. This is the podcast where B2B growth gets strategic. I'm your host, Dana Marxer, and every episode we dive into what it really takes to scale B2B SaaS companies with precision, not just hustle. So from revenue modeling to go-to-market alignment, from sales velocity to strategic ops, we explore the strategies behind smart, sustainable growth. So if you're a revenue leader, a founder, or you're wanting to get out of the go-to-market chaos, you're in the right place. Today, I am joined by Sanja Gabler, who's been in marketing leadership roles in B2B for over 15 years, including CMO roles at Trapets and Trapets. Last year, she made the leap to CRO at Trapets and shares with us today her perspectives as she's made that transition, and excited to talk about Sanja, how you're bridging the gap between marketing and sales, which with all of the go-to-market leaders on our call, we are all too familiar with that. So Sanja, thank you so much for joining us. I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So Sanja, let's just start with your story. Tell us about your background, how you kind of got your career progression, and what's the backstory?
Yeah. Hi, thanks, Dana. Lovely to be here on your pod. I'm super excited for our conversations. So thanks for inviting me and reaching out. Yes, my story. I always say that I'm probably not the traditional marketing officer, now also in the revenue role. I think one driver that has been following me throughout my professional career has been that I'm quite curious, and the curiosity comes from a lot of technology exploration. So that has really been a driving force throughout my career. So early on, I started out in the insurance brokerage business, actually, but quite quickly I realized, okay, this is not what I wanted to do. So then I jumped on the project of us implementing a CRM. So there was kind of my intro to kind of both technology, but also to the marketing world, I'd say. And since then, I think once again the driving forces is curiosity. I wanted to really do things differently. I think in the era that we are in, but the past, the digital landscape and the enablement technology helped my career a lot, together with the curiosity. So that's where I am today. Obviously, quite natural then that I am working in SaaS B2B company, and currently now in quite a scale-up phase that we're at.
Well, I love the fact, Sanja, that you came from a systems background. One of the things that is a big shift that I'm seeing, especially in the CRO role, is that the recognition that the go-to-market function is an engine, right?
Yeah.
It takes the creativity, it takes the thought leadership, but more and more that CRO role is becoming an operations, somebody that has to
Yeah.
understand the operations and the dynamics of the growth function as a process, and understands how to use intelligence to
Yeah.
not only improve growth performance, but get efficient, right? It used to be,
Yeah.
hey, top line was everything. It's not that
Yeah.
way anymore. And
No,
that
and I
efficiency
think
piece is key.
no,
So
but yeah, to the point, I think that, I mean, we see less that, the great salesperson that actually hits the quota and overachieving, that is not currently now. I mean, it used to be that one, stepping up to the revenue role. I see now much more another type of people that what you're mentioning, more process oriented, more kind of, alignment across team, multidisciplinary capabilities that I think is needed and sought for now in a revenue role rather than having met your quotas year on year. So yeah, that is true that we're seeing that, and that's also why I got into that role because we decided it, or my CEO and my board also realized that, okay, we need something this different. We need now to go from quite a, I call it a startup sales organization, to kind of really scale that up. And there we need to work with that process, technology, how we do things, and get that more sales engine approach.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of this RevOps discipline that is emerging, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
and I guess my guess is that the way you present performance to your executive peers is refreshing, right? Because you're a data person. And,
Yeah.
as I speak with other CMOs, it's, for CMOs to get that seat at the executive table, they have to learn the language of the rest of the executive team, which is all
Yeah.
around metrics, um, uh, subjective, not opinion-based, feedback, facts, and models. And
Yeah.
so I think you kind of alluded to it, but am I reading that correctly?
No, for sure. I think, I mean, that is also something that has kind of where I am a little bit different as a CMO, because I've always been arguing with data and numbers. I think that that does require, if you're going to step into any commercial role, you need to be able to, at the executive table, actually argue with numbers, understanding, quite basic economics, like how is it running a business? It's plus and it's a minus, and all there in between. So I think, with that said, yeah, that is a trait from the marketing space where we are exploded with a lot of data and capabilities. I think do have that strength and capability now with me when I'm on the revenue side.
Uh, I love that. I'm on my last episode, Sanja. I was chatting with a CMO, and she said she quoted one of her past colleagues and said, "Don't bring opinion to a data fight."
Yeah.
And I'm sure you got it. You can get a chuckle out of that. I laughed so hard. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to remember that one." Um,
I mean, as a marketeer, you always adjust the message depending on your audience, right? I mean, there are places where you can argue with opinions, but usually not in an executive's a seat.
mhm,
It's just yeah, you choose your context in that sense.
I love that. So you are coming out of the marketing world and stepping into the revenue world. Um, historically, it's always been like this, right?
Yeah,
Marketing is you don't follow up on my leads, sales is you don't give me enough leads. And so, coming from the marketing side of the house, what do you think was there anything that surprised you, or do you feel like, hey, I'm bridging that gap. I'm able to give one picture instead of two.
yeah. I think, I mean, one thing that is very apparent in a revenue role is how close you are to the customers and the market. And I think that is something that, as a marketeer, we always talk about being close to customers and be close to market. But actually, now when I'm in the revenue, I'm sitting in the dialogues. I am negotiating with prospects. I am actually getting that instant feedback. That is something that I see now is crucial. That also is feedback that comes to the marketing team. I think that is a big gap that I can see that really would facilitate to really, you know, lower the distance between sales and marketing. Having marketing people in those sales cars to actually in front of customers, listen to the feedback, listen to the direct response. I think that is something that I'm really um, seeing now happening. So that is a learning for me currently. Um, but also, I think, I mean, in the revenue role, you are, I mean, top line growth responsible, and as a marketeer, you are kind of, but you can always, you can shift whether you are on the growth side, but sometimes you can maybe shift, maybe sometimes you're on the cost side, depending a little bit on your position internally. But in the revenue, obviously, all stakes are on you in that sense.
I want to get your perspective on something. There's kind of this, I'll say, tongue-in-cheek comment that sales has a target market of one, right? So sometimes from the sales side, depending on the latest conversation with a prospect or customer, marketing might get the feedback, this is what we need to focus on
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
just had this conversation. What I love about what you just said is you're able to put all of those conversations into a more strategic context.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be true? And is that your experience of sales, or is that
Yeah,
unjustified?
and I think, I mean, that is a great way to put it, that with the half marketing hat on, I'm still, haven't left that marketing mindset, and now with the revenue hat on, I can obviously see, okay, what is in the conversation that we had that is much more like insight that for changing a strategy, for instance, versus what is just on a daily basis, like it was a bad customer meeting, or they didn't understand, our unique selling point or our differentiation. I think with those two experiences now, I can see, okay, what is actually insights that we can put back in a strategy, whether it's marketing or a go-to-market strategy or the overall for the company, versus, okay, what is actually things that I know that marketing would want to know to actually execute better on, kind of activate the market. So I think definitely I can see I can see in between the lines. So that is that is a positive effect of having the marketing background in the revenue role as such.
Yeah, I love that. And as we look at the alignment between sales and marketing, having you bridge that gap and being able to take all that sales input into a strategic go-to-market lens, that solves one of the common misalignments, right,
Yes.
between sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
so, what are the other common misalignments now that you've been in both roles and you've been in just a CMO role and not owning sales? What do you feel like are the common misalignments that affect go-to-market success?
Um, I think, I mean, I always say it starts from the top. If your CEO, for instance, that is not clear with the common assignment of an executive team, then already there you have a misalignment between, all parties in an executive management. But I think it's important that sales and marketing have the same assignment. And that is super clear. With that, it can be proven in terms of, we have one, KPI, which is, in our case, it's ACV sales, or it can be ARR. Like that's super important that is in the central of things. Then I do believe that in that we have different roles in how we achieve that. So with that said, I always talk about respecting each one's assignments. That means that, obviously now I'm doing the revenue, which is a lot on the sales process. How are we nailing and closing those deals? How do we get, good pipeline growth and whatnot? But I'm respecting the fact that before entering pipeline, before actually, getting the interest, there's a lot of effort and work going in marketing and activating the market. So I think with that said, you need to respect each other assignments and the our contribution in actually, growing a business.
Mhm.
And I think that is a lot to do with like understanding marketing. Okay, what is the role of a CMO? What is the role of a CRO? I think that's and back to the fact that it's the assignments, like have the common understanding for each other's assignments, but all respect the assignments so we can support each other. Because then that's where you get the effect of actually doing things together and growing the company.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing I have found as as we've worked with companies on kind of defining what the strategy is from the top down and then aligning everybody's strategy to that that overarching objective from from a strategic lens. Yeah, we've got our bookings targets, we can do all of the models, we can tell you that, but at the very top, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to do? And one of the things that struck me as you were talking was, sometimes, especially in an environment where sales is hungry, right? So there might not be, that pipeline coming in that keeps them full, right? And so they're
Yeah.
outsearching that sometimes sales will kind of chase anything that moves, right?
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
or may not be aligned with the go-to-market strategy.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? And do you
Yeah.
see that now being over on the revenue side?
I think back to that, I mean, being quite theoretically, but like, okay, you have your production line, you have your marketing line, all of that is prep work so that we are just going to go out and run and sell the stuff. I mean, basically, it's that. Usually, I think we sometimes have the revenue because once again, we are top line responsible. Maybe we put that and they come back with what we're going to sell. They come back with how we're going to do marketing. They come back with how we're going to package things. And that's where I think the strategy becomes more tactics and too operational. So I mean, I have great respect of the fact that with my CMO now, like okay, just let me know how we're gonna package things, what are we gonna talk about, who are we addressing them? Like I want that packaged so that then we can run with it.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously we iterate, we come back. Okay, so that didn't really work in that target group. Well, that message didn't really resonate, so we need to kind of come back with that feedback back to both marketing but also product team and whatnot. But I'm quite respectful of the fact that I don't necessarily need to I mean, we're going to just run and close the deals. The strategy can really come from marketing, product, tech, whoever, depending on the company.
Are you systematizing that feedback in any way? I mean, what would be your advice? Because that is so critical in that alignment,
Yeah,
right? Is the
yeah.
feedback loop. What works, what doesn't?
We are not, I mean, we are trying to. So, I mean, it's around alignment once again. We do have feedback sittings with product team, with product marketing team. We do win-loss analysis. We do interviews, win-loss, more loss interviews rather than win, which we should be better on also doing the wins. It is tough to get that feedback systemized. I mean, feedback in general, it always gets forgotten in some way. We always talk about how important it is, but somewhere in operations, we just tend to forget about it. But we are getting there, and I think systemized or not, it's just important that I mean I'm coaching my team. If they come back and say to me, okay, I learned this. This is the insight. This is, pushbacks from the market or what the customer says. I said, okay, well, take that with, marketing or take that with product. Don't take it to me. Take it to the actual people that can do something about it. So I'm coaching my team so they don't sit and waiting for me to do the up, way, and down, but rather you go and tell it and see what they
I
say.
love that.
This is great insight.
I love that. Well, when you stepped into the CRO role, and I'm thinking of, when we come from the marketing, marketing data, marketing process, it's so complex. When you moved over to the sales role, was there anything that surprised you or anything you're like, we're fixing that first?
No, it's true. No, and that's I think we as marketeer we're very used to tech. We're very used to like like just having a lot of stuff going on in our heads,
Mhm.
data capabilities as you're talking about, and also quite process oriented. I mean, this is quite like the basic traits of a good marketeer. On the sales side, I think it's less process. I mean, we all know, the admin and kind of just updating CRM and the pipeline and whatnot. So I'm becoming, the nag around that. Um, but also like it's sales is not like it can obviously we talked about that in the beginning. It can be engineered and it can be processed, but then we need to see through that some things just happen because it is people to people business. That's how we do business today. We're not, I mean, we're doing quite complex B2B sales. So it's not, a no touch or low touch go to market model that we have. But people aren't predictable. Relationships are unpredictable. So in that sense, my kind of experience now is that okay, everything can't be processed. Where
Mhm.
is the data? Oh, we have a few data points because we forgot to do the admin. So I am, I am stuck in the between. I love, you know, all the process, the data capabilities, but I also understand that it is sometimes unpredictable.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, process and data, it's based on ones and zeros, and sales is not only ones and zeros.
Well, it's funny. I was chatting with a kind of RevOps person in a RevOps leadership role the other day, and we were going through the process, and one of the areas was the confidence level when
Mm,
they would be looking at the pipeline
yeah,
forecast, and they hated that confidence level metric,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They're like, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know how to measure that, and that's interestingly. That is a critical piece when we're
yeah,
getting forecast accuracy is you have to have a mechanism to account for
yeah,
uh, the human element. You have to
yeah,
account for the relationship piece, to account for the experience. But what you can do is you can look at trends in rep confidence levels,
yeah,
right? Are they usually right or are they usually wrong?
yeah,
Are they sandbaggers or do they have happy ears?
yeah,
Those are so it's kind of this blend, which is, I think, really fascinating from the analytics side of
yeah,
being able, just like on the branding side, digital marketing is easy to track. Non-digital marketing is a lot more complex,
yeah, yeah.
and seeing the influence of proxy variables and things like that.
No, but
But
we talk, no, but that's true. Like, and this is the confidence level, like systematically wise, you can put ones or twos, like, okay, have you done this? Have you done that? Like, there are always thresholds, there are tasks that can then line up to a confidence level. But
Mhm.
then in everything in between, I mean, this is why I want to ask with my teams, like, what is your confidence level? Like one day you could be super confident because that's the day where you feel like a superhero. But then
Mhm.
it's another day you can feel like, no, there was something and you maybe slept bad or you felt like they didn't really respond as expected and whatnot. Then you can go down. And once again, these are things that we cannot read in the data. Like it needs to be done like in conversations. So yeah, that is a good point that is a challenge, and especially it's a challenge when we're forecasting,
Mhm.
monthly, quarterly,
Well,
yearly.
let's talk about forecasting. Well, I mean, what are you finding? I mean, that's like the bane of the CRO existence, right?
Yeah,
It's like not only how are we tactically managing current quarter forecast, but how are we looking at long-term pipeline health,
yeah.
strategic view? How do you approach that?
Um, I mean, this is one of the, I would say, I mean, really challenge, because I mean, I have a sales team now. We're not a big team, but it's 10 reps. And once again, it has to be on the conversations. I can't read that out a lot in kind of our CRM. I mean, I have the data, I have that mechanism, but I really need to do, the forecasting also in dialogue with my team. Um,
Mhm.
we I think, I mean, this is one of the things you're becoming quite obsessed with numbers in the revenue role, like
Mhm.
everything, like on activity level, on pipeline, has it grown? What type of activities? What has the email conversations been? Like you get a little bit obsessed on like checking the CRM, checking your dashboards all the time. Um, but this is to create, I mean, trust and confidence in me to that forecast. So when we are closing a month, okay, do I need to iterate in my head, but also on my calculation, the forecast for the coming month, quarter, year. So with that said, I think I mean I don't have a trick, but it is a challenging task. But I think it requires both, data capabilities, technology, but also once again talking to the team and be quite on to the team. What has moved? What hasn't moved? What is the reason for not moving? You know, and then we're back to kind of, you know, getting that. How confident are they on the deals? How confident are they on their pipelines? And that
Are
takes
there
a
any
while to get that, level and
are there
understand.
any key metrics that you focus on when you're talking to your team?
No, but obviously, I mean, we're looking at pipeline management, so we do have weighting in that, like everybody else. In that, I mean, specifically going into kind of what have you been doing, for it to achieve, this amount of percentage of in the process. So a lot around that.
Hmm.
We have also, I mean. Uh, we have what we call like a push counter. That means, okay, how often do my reps push the deals? Because that also give you some insight on confidence level, to my forecasting, how confident am I that this rep will actually hit the quota for the month, for the quarter, being. So that is also something that I'm looking a lot around. And then also a third thing is stakeholders. Like, are we actually assembling the buyer committee? Or is it just that we have, contact with just a few? And also like stakeholder management involves both kind of, how many are we talking to in the buyer committee to kind of understand, but also who, because I know there are key stakeholders that we always need to pass to do a deal.
Mhm.
So those are the things that I specifically look at and have a conversation with my team.
Love that. So what are there any other surprises or kind of points of alignment that have struck you as you've moved into the role that we haven't talked about?
Um, No, but I think, I mean, this is what, to your point, you said, sales always have only one target market. And I think, I mean, one of the really challenging things where it strikes me is be really straight true to your ICP, because that really involves saying no to business. And that is something that is super challenging. I think
Mhm.
in the marketeer, like in my CMO role, it's like, this is what we're going after. This is what you market. You cannot go after, this is what we're, gearing to do, which I mean, that is a strategy for the whole company. But in the revenue, like, yeah, there will be outlier cases. There will be acceptable segments that we're going after, which we know maybe not, the perfect fit, but it's still a fit. And that is something that I see is quite challenging actually to really stay true, because that also means that it's saying no to business. And that
Mhm.
is also to dare to say no to business, that really, I mean, in the phase that we're at, we are in a scale up stage. So startup, I mean, then you say yes to every business. I mean, we do have quite a rigorous strategy and whatnot, but still we're in a scale up. So they will be businesses that we said, we should maybe say no, but we pursue it anyways.
Mhm.
And that I think it's quite a, a
Well,
reality
yeah,
check.
what I have what you said struck a point for me that in order to get sales to do anything, there has to be something in it for them, right?
Yeah.
So it is, the proof points that if you go after ICP and you say no to the business, you're going to be more successful,
Yeah.
right? And so it's always in the best interest of the salesperson to take the guidance you're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
even though they may not see it today. Do you find
And
that?
that is a really, I mean, I had that conversation just yesterday, with one of my new reps, testing out the waters a bit. I mean, super clear, obviously, what we go after, what product we want to lead and whatnot. Um, he came back and said to me, I do understand now why I should more focus on this, why I've chosen. I said, yeah, but it's also like it's an experience learning. Like maybe you need to kind of test the market or have a few, insights. Once again, what's in it for me? Sales people think, okay, I can get maybe a faster deal here, or I know that person there, or whatnot. We always want to find those, loopholes. But I think like yesterday I said, no, but now I do understand. Because I said, yeah, it's not I mean, our business is not a quantity business, it's a quality business. And, nailing like, literally like 5 to 10 deals.
Hmm.
That's the focus. Then doesn't need to be 100 prospects.
Hmm.
And those deals are within, the guidance that we have stipulated.
Hmm. Well, I love that. I know we're kind of coming up here, Sanja, and I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about Trapets and your market.
Yeah.
And then I always like to end the podcast with some good takeaway nuggets for our, and gosh, you've given so much on this value between the alignment between marketing and sales. And, if you've been in an organization that had the alignment and you've been in an organization that doesn't have the alignment, you see the
Yeah.
stark contrast in efficiency,
Yeah.
right? And success. And so, give us just a little bit of background on Trapets, and then
Yeah.
let's talk about some key takeaways for our folks.
So Trapets is we are a SaaS company, but we're providing SaaS solutions for financial industry with them complying to anti-money laundering directive and also market abuse. So what we actually do is we're helping financial institutions primarily to fight financial crime. Uh,
Hmm.
Quite complex. We've been in business quite some time. We are, can I say, big in the Nordics, market leading in the Nordics, and now we're scaling and looking throughout Europe. RegTech is huge. It's
Hmm.
unfortunately a growing market, especially within the financial crime scene. It is heavily increasing the financial crime, so therefore, I mean, opportunity or not, but there is a lot of companies obviously coming into the space to provide this type of technical solutions to prevent
Well,
financial
I
crime.
love it, and I love the this high growth, hyper growth environment that really you've created the foundation for. So good for you. I love it. So
Thank you.
let's wrap with some advice to our CMOs, to our CROs, to our, other executives. What are some of the pieces that if somebody listens to this episode, you would suggest these are the key points to take home?
Yeah. No, I mean, always think commercial. Commercial means, like I said, basic, what goes in and what goes out. I usually coach my marketing team, but also every supporting team, like, okay, why are you doing this and how does it contribute to our revenue targets? I think that is a really good question to ask for all team, but especially in marketing team, because in marketing team, we always tend to do a lot of things. We always have a lot on our plate, but really truly like go to the bottom. does this activity actually contribute to revenue growth? And you need to be able to answer how it does. So I think that is a really good advice that I always talk to my team, but also to peers. Then on the alignment between sales and marketing is to really craft an SLA between the two teams. And that could be like, okay, do we have a good service level agreement between the two parties? Like, okay, what is a good qualified lead? Like what we define as a marketing qualified lead, for instance. When do we hand it over and what type of timestamps do we want to work with? And those are just, basic things that you can have, but it is an agreement between sales and marketing so that you kind of making the effort, the fact that you are working towards the same goals.
But
So
it's
that's
so
also
common to have that missing.
yes,
It's
I think
shocking
yeah,
how often
yeah,
that is
yeah.
missing.
And it can all, I mean, it can just be that, okay, we have the common understanding that an MQL can, 50, you know, 50% of the times, maybe it's not a good lead, but then we know that. And then we don't have to have, debating about that. We want 50% to be really good leads. Okay, good. It's about expectation. I think that type of SLA agreement between marketing sales, start off with something really basic and then just elaborate on that. And I think that will give you good ground to kind of, have a better collaboration between the two teams.
Mhm.
So I think that would be the two.
I love that. And I'll just I'll add on something that I love that you said was this it is kind of the SLA collaboration, but that strategic collaboration,
Yeah,
that let's create our plan together. Let's go to market together.
yeah,
Let's talk to each other a
yeah,
lot. And I think the more that conversation is fostered and supported, the greater the opportunity to gain that alignment.
yeah. And no, I think, yeah, and that's and like I said, like respect each other's assignments because we're not doing the same things. We have the same targets, but we're doing like the how is different, how we contribute. So that I think also just respect and trust, your peer in that sense.
Yes, and respect. Don't assume the other side's job is easy.
Yeah.
They're both
Exactly.
really
Yeah,
hard,
really
right?
hard. Yes, yes,
Right? And
for
I
sure.
think sometimes that is kind of that appreciation. That's kind of the human element of the respect.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm sure having lived both sides, you're like, yeah, they're both hard. So,
yes,
well, Sanja, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all of your words of wisdom. I'm excited to see where you take Trapets. And I hope to have you back here soon when we hear all of the success stories of what you and your team has accomplished. So
thank you, Dana, for having me, and I hope I really enjoyed the conversation, and hope that we definitely can meet up and have a conversation ahead.
wonderful. All right. Well, have a great rest of your evening, Sanja, and
Yes, thank
we'll chat with
you.
you soon.
Yes, thank you.